We're streaming. You ready? I already transitioned. I pointed to
Hello and welcome. Hi, Justin.
you.
I'm Paul.
Hi, I'm Justin. Hello, I am Justin. Hello, Paul.
Welcome back to our podcast, Justin.
I know it's been forever. It's been forever.
This is our podcast. Yes, it has been forever. This is our podcast where we discuss sometimes our favorite things across a variety of topics.
This at one point was my favorite thing, but yes, we do talk
Mhm.
about favorite things. That's for
And
sure.
this could be our favorite thing today. The fact that we're just podcasting again, that we're here, we're talking about a specific topic. But every week, we pick. In this case, we're going to be doing some movie reviews, some classic movie reviews, and every week we're going to be picking a movie.
Classic.
And on Thursday evenings around 9ish, 9:15ish, we're going to be talking to each other about why. If there's anything good in this movie, we're going to try and find it. We're going to talk to each other about all the fun stuff that we can, unpack from the movies that we're going to be watching. And today we are going to be watching and talking about The Shadow from 1994, starring Alec Baldwin and like everybody.
Yes. The Shadow. I'm the one that pushed for us to watch this movie. So I
Mhm.
guess, you have never seen this movie, right? You have never seen this movie before, right? Before this.
After
this
watching it now, I realized I'd only ever watched that opening sequence before before the text scroll with the terrible font. That's all I've
You
seen
know,
was that opening sequence.
before we dive into like this, like, yeah, so we talk about we're going to talk about what our favorite things. I guess we can wait for my comments on the movie, but yeah, like we haven't done a podcast in some time. I just want to, just since it's our first time back, like, we've had this idea for a little while now. We've been trying to do all these other things like podcasting, news stations, and I don't know, all these things and whatnot.
We've we've incorporated the Let's Play and streaming live on YouTube, which has been really fun.
But
But we've missed
yeah, we miss like doing the bonus episodes we used to do in the past, and honestly, we did a couple things like this with the Obi-Wan reviews and stuff like that. So go check those out if you're ever interested in that. And this is my little piece on why we're here. But really, we really wanted to talk about some bad, I give quotations, 1990 movies or 90s movies, like the things that we kind of grew up with, maybe never got a chance to see, or just don't really remember very well. That it's like, why do they make this thing? Some
We're gonna drag. Yes.
really cheesy 90s films, and just kind of go back in time a little bit. And we might do some modern
Oh,
day stuff with this too, but I think mostly it's to do things like this, like The
oh my
Shadow.
gosh. Yes, Justin. This movie really does like kind of encapsulate everything we're trying to accomplish. Like we had our playing favorite summit this past summer. When you came and visited,
And
we
lawn,
we
yes, in lawn chairs.
yep, and it was beer and lawn chairs where we decided what we wanted to do, and we started talking about like the plethora of late 80s, early 90s, like mostly just 90s movies that we grew up with that were like that left such a mark, like such a impression on us.
Hmm.
And all of a sudden we were just like viewing them back and forth, trading
Yeah,
all these
even if the
movies for
impression
like
is even if the impression was just the cover art, like, it's like, I mean, yeah,
yeah, there's a few of those on this list. But no, you're right. And we decided like, well, why don't we, because nobody is talking about these movies. Nobody is like preserving them or saving them or wishing them.
I
And
I
maybe for good reason.
I don't
But
know
we're gonna
why. I
over
mean, there's so
here,
much to talk about today.
as we were saying right before we started, there are plenty of stunning moments in this movie that just like make you speechless like watching it. So I'm very excited to talk about it, as this is my first time really watching it. It's
Watched it so many times before this moment. Trust me. Like, anyways,
but
tell
I
tell
liked
us.
your
Wait, go. What we like my what? Sorry.
sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I
Go.
liked your when we were chatting about it, your original response to me. You said, "Here is my short review of the movie." It's hilarious,
I laughed a
and
lot. I laughed a lot.
I seriously call into question my movie tastes from the past. And I say, good for you, Justin. We all liked bad movies, but man, this one might just take the cake.
But here's the
But all
thing.
right,
To my defense, before you go into the synopsis of this, to my defense, I didn't realize how young I was when I watched this movie. Like I just
94.
my memory of this is like, oh yeah, I watch this movie all the time. And I was like, I was in high school. Like that was like what my thought was, or like middle school maybe. But I'm like, no, this came out in '94. I would have been like 12 when this movie
Yeah, we
came
would have
out.
been in elementary school,
11?
I think,
11?
because we were in. All I know is I think like 97, 98. We were in junior high, I think. So if it's 94, we're like in fourth or fifth grade, something like that. This was definitely a grade school movie.
I don't know.
Like,
I swear I thought I went to the theaters to see this thing. And I'm like,
that's
for the life of me, I can't imagine I went to the theaters to see this though. After watching it again last night.
what is this even rated? I don't think I even figured out what this
Who is
was
this for? That's a big question. Me and Amber were.
That's also an important question. All those radio show enthusiasts, in the 90s, they were really clamoring for a shadow
Well,
movie.
here, I'll look up the rating. You give us a little synopsis of this film.
I will. All right. So this takes place after the First World War. First of all, it's in the 30s, and it has to do with our main character played by Alec Baldwin named Lamont Cranston, and who has,
You go.
I guess, after World War One, decided to just become a drug kingpin and warlord in Tibet. He grows really gross long fingernails and hair. He looks disgusting. But he ultimately meets with this person named Tulku, who is
the Tolka, yes.
Polka. He's like a holy man. He's like the person who's going to offer him some kind of redemption. He shows him his mystical flying dagger that has a face on it that apparently he can't control. But anyway, he becomes the Tulku's student. And we don't get any of this part of him becoming the student. We just have to assume that he learned how to hypnotize people and bend their perception so that he can become invisible, except for his shadow. So that's really like the setup.
Yeah. And then of course this is based on a comic book / radio drama that was really popular in the 30s.
Pulp comics, so like really cheap old like pulp fiction.
So I was reading about this before we dive into the plot here. I guess like Sam Raimi had a draft for this because of the Darkman, like he was going to do this movie. And
wow, so you can look at Darkman as a version of the Shadow. Interesting.
So like, I mean, you look at the Wikipedia where it says production, it shows like why they picked this person to write the screenplay. I guess the person that wrote it was a big fan of this back in the day or something like that. And
sure. I mean, you gotta be. There's not like people knocking down the door for the Shadow.
But I wonder though, like it's kind of weird because this movie came out right after Dick Tracy, right? So it's like it has that kind of a similar vibe. Like it's sort of the same kind of
time period. Kind of like big city.
Honestly,
kind of
probably why I love this movie, because I really got sucked into these like film noir type places. I mean, come on, look at all the bad movies I like. This one. Dick Tracy, Dark City. I was thinking that too last night. It's like, oh, you got some lady in a dress in front of a big silver microphone. I'm sold.
That's what you love. You love club scenes, and there's a lot of club scenes in this one at the Cobalt Club. But yeah, so okay, you know how Batman. I just want to like lay this out so people understand the character of Lamont Cranston. You know how Batman is Bruce Wayne, and he's like a playboy philanthropist type of thing. He's a billionaire or whatever. You kind of know like Wayne Enterprises. You know where he gets his money from.
That's where it's going.
What does Lamont Cranston do?
I don't know. His uncle doesn't know. His uncle's like...
But Uncle, what is it? Uncle Winchester? Uncle Wainwright. Uncle Wainwright, played by Jonathan Winters.
He's the commissioner,
yes.
Right?
Yep, he's also his uncle. He's his only family member, I guess. And Uncle Wainwright, asks him, he's like, "You've got too much time on your hands. It's not right." So I always
let's just dive in. Let's dive into this plot. So like, okay, so the first thing I want to, let's just talk about the Tibet scene. So we already brought it up, right? Let's go. Honestly, like, though it's weird seeing Alec Baldwin. Honestly, it was very odd seeing him this young in this movie in general. Like it's just weird, like knowing who he
Yes.
becomes and who he is and all that stuff. It's like, and like just seeing him dressed up in this Mongolian like temple hut thing. It was just odd, right? Like it didn't look right.
There's a lot of like there's a lot of, first of all, like just like general, this is like mystical Asian stuff. Like nobody is saying specifically this is Mongolian, except for the Mongol warriors when they come in late and they're like, this is Tibet. But it's like, okay, that's fine. Can I just say, you're talking about like when he first meets Tolka and gets taken to the
Well,
holy
I'm saying
man?
when that well no, like he's in his little hut of just a bunch of women, and he kills the
Oh, his
guy,
little
shoots her.
harem.
Yeah, his
Yes,
harem.
his
Like
little harem,
he just
sleeping
looks
with like
so
5 women in bed.
the wig looks horrible on him
Mhm.
too. By the way, like he just does not look right. Like him, Alec Baldwin shirtless is not the most attractive, appealing thing. It's like it's really not. Like, hey, he's a well looking man. Like he's really nice looking. He's fine. He fits the Lamont Cranston role later on with a suit on and stuff. Oh,
Yes, he fits that role well. You are absolutely right. But like you're saying, he is not a long-haired, long-nailed Asian drug lord. He's like something out of like an opium den, in Bengal. And he's like, that's not who he is. So it was very jarring to see him like that. I'm a hairy guy. His chest hair looks weird. All right, it's like long. It's like you could comb it. It's like long and straight, like you could
so
part it or
so
something.
here's the thing. If you go back to the
Pretty
production of this
strange.
film, really quick, like I want to add this
Oh,
in. So
please.
the tagline of this film is always "Ben of the Shadow." Just the tagline in general back in the day was
Hmm.
what he what's the oh no, what is the evil that what's the darkness in the hearts of men or something like
What
that.
lurks in the hearts of men?
Yeah,
The
and then
shadow
the shadow knows. His whole premise of this film was to answer the
knows.
question, how does the shadow know? Well, it's because the shadow himself has its own darkness. He's like added this all in by supposedly making him a Tibetan Mogul drug lord.
And you know what? Like maybe that was what happened in the comic book or in the
No,
radio serials.
no,
Like,
no, because
no,
nope,
completely fabricated.
all fabricated, all because it's connecting to the villain that's in the
To the
books,
villain.
which
Okay, to make them like kind of related in
you
a
know,
way.
it's like I give him, a C minus for trying. It's like they try to make something unique a little bit, right?
All right, okay. You give him like an E for effort. Sure.
It's like
I will say, and as we progress through, like he does meet with the Tolka who's going to abduct him and give him a chance to be like a force for good. Um, and then he gets attacked by that mystical dagger that bites him
the
because
pooba the purda or
Purba,
purba
Purba,
purba purba purba,
Purba, Purba.
which
I was
is
gonna
like
say Furby, the Furby.
such early '90s CGI. I love it. It's
Honestly, it's not the worst CGI in this film. Like I think it might be the best CGI in this film.
true. Yeah.
It's just like a dagger and like the face comes alive and goes and tries to bite people.
So
Um,
just to add, it was PG-13. I did look it up. Kind of
okay.
fits that rating a little bit,
So
right?
you would have been probably about the age if you went and saw it in theaters, you would have
Sure,
made it. Okay.
sure. I
So
thought I did. I don't. Maybe I just know I watched it a lot, and I watched it with a cousin of mine that well, that's be a
yes,
friend of the
yes.
show, and we used to just
Friend of the show.
we used to love this movie. I don't know. I watched it all the time. There's just something
Now,
about it.
it, I'm sure, and I think I can see it appealing to grade schoolers. I can see that working. But man, oh man, especially because the CGI in it at the time was probably like, oh, look at what we can do with CGI, and it looks cool, looks neat, something different.
But
But
right,
speaking of CGI, the
yeah.
when they reveal the temple, remember he was like, where is the temple? He's like, it's right there, and then like it kind of like ripples into view, like the clouds part, and you see it.
Really, in the end,
Does it
it's horrible special effects considering that you just saw the Batman a few years before this,
right?
and
And that's 89.
yeah,
That's
and like Dick
89.
Tracy before it too, which which we'll come back to and discuss that a little bit. We've had some discussions recently on that, but
Yes.
in consideration, like there is some bad, like they had a little more CGI-ness to this film, but it's like it is like you think about it, it really is very low budget in the end. Like it's kind of like there isn't a lot of action overall, really.
Not a lot of anything really happens in this movie. I will just say that when they reveal the Tolka's temple there, it looked like a Cobra playset from GI Joe.
I know,
You
doesn't it?
know, like a giant snake is the like giant cobra head is the building, and it's like Cobra. That's the first thing I could think
And
of.
it's like, where did that where did that come from? And it's like,
Yeah.
clouded minds can't see this place or something.
But that's a callback. Well, not a callback, but that's like foreshadowing something that'll happen later in the movie with a building that's hidden
Yeah,
from sight.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, after Lamont Cranston basically says like, "Okay, I'll be your student," we skip over all the training and how he gets his powers and uses his powers and all that. We skip it, and then the terrible font crawl of text tells us like 7 years later he returns to a den of sin and evil in his hometown,
And it's like
New
dot
York
dot dot,
City.
New York
Yeah.
City.
There's when it first opened up, I was like, "Is this San Francisco?" Because it was just like opening on an enormous bridge in like a foggy night. I'm like, "San Fran, really?" And they're like, "New York City." I'm like, "If you say so," because the set for the next scene, like his like introduction, is all like painted sets, backdrops
Yep.
painted of like the perspective of, "Oh, look, there's the city in the distance." And I'm like, "That's a really good paint job on that piece of wood behind these actors." It really didn't look like a city, but it was a really cool bridge painting. Justin, is there anything in this opening sequence, this first action sequence
So
that you'd
like,
like to?
my memory of this film was like I thought the Shadow looked really cool. Like I thought he looked really awesome. Like I remember like it's not that I wanted. It's not like I wanted to like go dress up as the Shadow. It wasn't like as a kid that I was like, oh man, the Shadow has the best outfit, and
Yes.
I want to be him for Halloween. I know I did that for Dick Tracy. Um, but I thought it was kind of neat, like the little the little flash of it, like him punching and whatever, and like it was a
Cool
good
power.
it was an introduction. It was a good introduction of him. I think if anything, by this point in the film, I'm not like I'm expecting it to be a better film than as I remember. It was on a bad start. He saves a guy, and you kind of learn about his, and then just to kind of summarize this whole thing, it's like you learn about his little secret society thing, which is kind of neat and kind of cool, and like, but
It's interesting. It's
overall,
very Batman.
I think it's it has a little bit of a Batman vibe, right? Because he's like you can't see where he is, and but the thing that like really struck me, it's like why is this hero appealing? He's like laughing the entire time, and
Yeah,
and, and it's like
the first thing I wrote was, "He sure is happy," like all the time.
it is like and then and then of course the shot that I always I think I even laughed at this when I watched the movie the first time as a kid. But like when he goes to save the guy, he just like whips out a bunch of guns and then just
Yes, Justin. Oh, I had like so much to say about that, but then you just wrapped it up perfectly. It's like he pulls them out so fancy, and it's like ta, 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 shooting. And what is he shooting? Like they made like concrete shoes for the guy that they were going to throw over
yeah,
the edge.
yeah.
For
What
the Asian man like Norm Johnson, his name in this movie. In real life, he's Sab Shimono, who's like a character actor, lots of
Yeah, I see.
movies.
There's a lot of familiar faces
Dr.
in this film.
Roy,
There's so many
yes.
familiar faces in this film.
Yes, a lot of
Um,
like bit players, character actors you've seen in lots of things. But yeah, he plays Dr. Roy Tam. Dr. Roy. But yeah, you learn about the secret society, the little ring.
Yep.
That
Get the cab driver, who's pretty cool. Mo, he's pretty
yes,
nice, right?
Mo, played by Peter Boyle. I couldn't remember his name the other day, but yes, Peter Boyle.
See, like I
Playing
think
the
that's really what appealed to me most about this movie was this secret society. Like, let's just jump to that really quick. We'll just jump because I mean, honestly, that's the beginning. Then you already talked about like where he does next, where you just find out he's just does nothing all day and lives in a mansion and just hangs out with his His uncle.
We don't know what he does. He lives in this like really opulent place, but we have no idea where did he get his money, how did he get his money, what does he do other than the times he's the
So all that
shadow?
it's
Is he
that it's
like
that it's that it's that it's that you know, the Tibetan drug money. That's what he brought it with him.
well, that's true. Oh, that's right. It was like he was like, well, I'm still gonna sell the drugs though,
I'll go.
right?
I'll go.
Like
I'll go do
all
your
the
thing there,
all
Taboka. But you gotta let me at least keep something. I can't. I can't do this without having a good house. I
because
mean,
like, of course, you got to sell the drugs. I understand. You got to make a living. Uh,
I can do this for free.
so
So
yes. All right. We have that first sequence. We get to see his powers a little bit, and then we transition to meeting the his uncle Wainwright, who's also the police commissioner of New York
yeah,
at
but
the Cobalt Club.
I want to just jump all the way to the secret society thing. That part I think is what really got
Fun.
me. That really got me like really interested in this movie as a kid. I thought that was the coolest thing. It's like that whole sequence when you jump little later, and it's like them like passing out the pamphlets to each other. Everyone has a ring on. They use a little
Yes.
tube thing that like sends
Yes.
information,
Yes.
which makes you think
I,
of like the bank teller like pipe. Like it's just like
well, yeah, that's what it's like a messenger system, and it's like, oh, he has his own dude and his own pipes all around the city, and also the terrible CGI of it going through, like following the pipes. Like, oh my god, it was awful.
But what's funny
Uh,
is like there's like later shots and later in the film because Amber watched this with me. I kind of like trapped her into watching this film with me. She couldn't really walk away either. She did fall asleep at the end. I'll give her that. But she's like later in the movie, she's like they're showing like these like shots of the city. It's like where's all the pipes? I don't see them. Where'd they go?
they're hidden. They're there. You can't see them. The shadow knows where the pipes go.
I just
We get
love that
okay.
whole like secret society thing and like his network thing. How long has he been doing this for? How long did it take the pipes? Built the pipes?
No idea. He built them
Uh,
himself. No idea.
is that one guy that gets all the pipes? He just sit there all day? Like, is that his job?
Yes, that's what he does. Does messages for the shadow, but he doesn't know about the shadow. Okay, all right. Let's keep moving here because we got some characters to introduce.
Sure.
We talked about his uncle Wainwright, who's played by Jonathan Winters, a really funny actor. Has always been kind of like a humorous actor, but he's playing it pretty straight for the most part. And then at one point, when he gets like a message, is like, "Oh, that shadow! I'm gonna set a commission to investigate him."
Oh, let's see.
Like Alec Baldwin sits back and goes in the shadow. Like,
Here,
you will not study the
here,
shadow. You will not
let me
pursue
change the
him.
brightness on your video camera to help make the
Hmm.
effect.
And it's like, using his shadow powers, and he's like, I won't do that. No, he's like, he's probably not real. So it's like, okay, cool. So the shadow is also kind of like a Jedi mind trick. That's what his power is. Like he can
Convinces you to do things.
suggest things.
But
to
he's
people.
a little bit more dark. He's darker
Yeah.
than that. Like right,
Well,
he's not like goody two shoes. He's not like Captain America, right? He's just gonna
no,
do whatever.
Justin, he's been dealing H. He's got a past. you know. So and then we get introduced to Cranston's, who will be Lamont Cranston's love interest in this movie, Margot Lane,
Okay, wait,
who
okay.
is also telepathic. She's known as a socialite because, again, she's just the daughter of a doctor who's a scientist, but
Yep.
she has no. She doesn't do anything.
She's strange. You don't want anything to do with her.
Yeah, she's got telepathy, and all she does is, as far as I can tell, is dress up in ball gowns every night and go to the Cobalt Club. Like that's what she does. And then we learned that she has some kind. They're like, yeah, stay away from her.
Fun fact though, she was never a character in the comic. I was reading up on this, but they added her to the radio drama. Because the reasoning is because there's so many male characters, they wanted to have a female in the radio drama to like differentiate the voices more.
And what better than a 1930s socialite to represent all women, after the First World War? So after that, we do get our, oh my gosh, we get our introduction to our villain.
Jump to the villain, yeah. Oh my god.
He comes by way of sarcophagus
He ships
he
himself to
enters
New
the
York City.
movie.
He ships
Exactly.
himself to New York City. Let's just talk about
Like,
that
who
scene.
shipped him? Who
Let,
put him, like, all right, it's a
his
silver, like, and it's all made of silver. And the guys that are there, yeah, please tell me about the museum director and his guard and other people. They're like, well, this was sent here, and all it says it's from Tibet. That's all we got. Like, you accepted this enormous package from Tibet without, Anyway, they open it up.
yeah.
It's a
I mean,
giant silver sarcophagus.
I'm gonna read my hand. I'm gonna just yeah. So like
Please,
my
please.
question though is like so I just dawned on me. So he ships himself to you eventually find out later to gain the power of Genghis Khan, right? Like it's like absorb his power in his sarcophagus supposedly.
That's what he's been doing this whole time in there, like going,
Yeah. So his
becoming
reasoning for
more
being shipped was
funny.
to absorb the power. How did the rest of his warriors get there? Were they shipped too? Like where do they?
When he, Thank you. Thank you, Justin. My first question was, where the hell did these Mongolian warriors come from? Because they do appear, and they are dressed, as you would imagine, Mongolian warriors of like the 12th century to
I
be
love it. It's
dressed.
so good.
They're
So funny.
armored, and they have crossbows,
Yep.
and they have pistols with one bullet in them that only take one bullet. Okay. All right.
Anyway,
So
back to his thing. It's like okay, typical villain. I actually like the villain. I like the actor who plays this villain. There's just something.
yes,
He's
he's good.
very
He's
entertaining.
chewing the scenery. He's chewing it up. He's doing great.
He's
I,
doing
I
his
do.
best.
I gotta ask you though, did you like the way that his sarcophagus opened when it was all the clamps? There was
Yeah,
like 6 or 7
I love that.
clamps.
So
And,
good.
like one opens and the guy comes over and like closes it, the guard, and then like another one, and then it's like the leaks, like there's too many leaks, and then they all just like start playing around and open. And I kind of liked his costume too when he was in there, his like armor with the helmet and mask. I
Yeah.
thought that was kind
No,
of neat.
my favorite. Just to cap
Uh,
that scene off though, my
that's
favorite
where
part
it
about
ends.
the scene. Obviously, he makes the guy shoot himself, which is kind of graphic and whatever.
Sure.
But then he hides in the mannequin.
What the hell was that? I didn't really understand what he was doing. Uh,
He was hiding in the mannequins. It's so good. So good.
okay, so his motivation is that he wants to fulfill his ancestor Genghis Khan's ambition and dominate the world, become, and like rule the world. And he initially like seeks out the Shadow to form an alliance with him.
See, I like those scenes. Like I think that's
I do
actually
too.
unique. They're very good.
I think those are the best scenes in the movie is when the two of them are talking.
Yeah.
Because even though it's cheesy and campy, they're actually really trying, they're really trying to make the material work
Like
between these
the
two
shadow
actors.
is the worst part of this movie. It's really like all the other actors are actually relatively good. Like I think Alec Baldwin does a good job at being Lamont Cranston, and even
Yes,
even his
correct.
interaction with Margot Lane, all that stuff. But like his thing with like what Shuen Khan, I think it's
Chewin
Shuen
Khan.
Khan. His like when he it is funny. He's like in his his sanctuary or what he calls it? What's he calls that place? His little lair, like the Shadow's lair, like where he goes to like do his shadow things. The shell.
I don't know. I forget.
It's like this.
The,
He's like Mo, take me to the sanctum. The sanctum.
the,
That's what it's.
the sanctum. The
The sanctum.
sanctum. Yes.
Which I find
Yeah,
funny.
very
It's like
Doctor Strangey.
he gets this note that it's like something bad's happening, and it's like because the murder happens at the museum, right? And he's like,
Mhm.
Mo, get over here. He has to wait for Mo to get there. He has to go in the cab. He has to go to his sanctum to get a message, and then he goes into the thing.
I love that he gets around by cab. I just love it. That's exactly what like a wealthy playboy would do. Is like, well, I'm not driving myself. He's like, I'll just get this cab guy to drive me everywhere. He's got a driver.
I'm gonna save his life,
Um,
but yeah,
all right,
that whole scene is
Justin,
great.
we can't go any further. We got to talk about his face. We got to
Okay,
talk about the Shadow's face.
yeah,
Now, I did a little research on this because if you look at the Shadow's face, like when he's actually the Shadow, it doesn't look like Alec Baldwin because it's not. In a lot of scenes, in some of the close-up scenes and non-action scenes, it's Alec Baldwin, but other times it's clearly the stunt actor. And I feel like they were making it like, oh, he's shifting his face at like people on, and I'm sorry to say, I looked on Reddit at people who were fans of the Shadow, and they said, well, no, he changes his face a little bit to appear like as an extra layer of protection to protect his secret identity. I guess because a scarf just covering literally his mouth is not enough. Who would have thought? Like his face and giant nose are like sticking out over this little red scarf. But my theory is they just did that so that the stunt actor wouldn't have to, so Alec Baldwin wouldn't have to worry about, doing
I
the
thought he was
stunts
wearing
himself.
a prosthetic nose, like bad makeup. At some points he
I think
is.
it's
At some point
yes,
it's
he
got
is,
to be
and I
is.
think those are like the close-ups when they're trying to get. And there are sometimes when it's like there's the stunt actor, then they've tried to make him look like Alec Baldwin with like darker eyebrows and like shaping the nose. I'm like, I think like my theory is they didn't want to. This is how they cover up the stunt actor. It's like you idiots, you didn't capture the Shadow, you captured his stunt double. Like that's who he is. That's what's going on.
And yeah,
It's the
that's
stunt
that's the thing
double.
I've noticed the most. You're right. We talk about his face, and it's like it is not attractive. Now, granted,
Bizarre.
what the reasoning
No.
is, he's using the darkness to fight the bad guys.
Yes.
So it makes him whatever. I guess what you're saying is another reason. I didn't even know about that. But because
I really think it's a stunt actor.
well, no, I'm saying the fictional reason, not
Mhm.
obviously the
Mhm.
real reason for this. But I was just like, man, this is not a cool power. Like he looks ridiculously horrible. Like
It's true.
it is not like he doesn't really do anything special. Like he becomes a shadow sometimes because you can't see him because he's invisible. Like
And then he punches people. That's his power.
and he has guns, really fancy guns.
I love the way he's
He
doing.
can't. He can't even
And
initially. He can't even control the little knife dude. Right? It's like he doesn't have
no,
any. He doesn't have any
no, he doesn't
power.
have anything. And by the way, we never see those twin silver guns again after that first scene. We never see them again. Those cool twin like
Oh,
silver
that's
desert
true.
eagles. We never see them again. He does his little dance, and they must have run out of bullets, and he's
Oh
like, "I
no,
guess
he
I'll throw
pulls
these
him
out."
out. He pulls him out again when he's fighting the Mongolians in the unless they're different
The
guns.
Mongolians.
We see him. We see him again.
I never thought I know, but I never thought I'd hear you say the sentence. You see the guns again when he fights the Mongolians. Like, what the fuck, man?
Man, but yeah,
All
like
right,
okay, so like the gist of the whole plan, like just to jump along, because I know
going on.
I
Yeah.
knew
So,
this was
so
gonna
we've got
happen.
we've introduced we've
So
got Shiwan Khan.
which again,
He
I love that back and forth sarcastic meeting.
sure.
I love that. Like you got some American bourbon.
Oh yes. um, he gets the coin from Khan, a rare coin, and he takes it to his secret agent there, Dr. Roy Tam, and
Who is
and then
very
all of a sudden they keep saying the word bronzium for 2 minutes straight. They say the word
I
bronzium
have to
over
say,
and over and over again.
like it's a cool to be fair, like the whole premise and plot and everything is kind of it's fine. Could have been for a superhero movie. It's fine, right?
It
It's okay.
seems like it would be a 1930s superhero kind of plot. No,
Yeah,
I feel like it does fit the character and the kind of the setting of the story. I think that's fine.
yeah. But
Um,
like that doctor really quick. Like it's like oh the sun is always shining, but the
oh,
ice.
but the ice is slippery. That's the call sign between the secret agents of the Shadow.
Oh, you're with the shadow. Who? Oh, gotcha.
He's like, "Oh yeah," and he winks.
But
So yes.
that whole sequence where he's trying to like explain what Bronzian, and it's like he is very
Run.
fast, as if he's like known about this his entire life. It's not like he has to think about it. He's like, well,
He's a
you could do this, and you would need to make this design. He just designs this like
oh, but
crazy.
my God. Yes, they basically come up with the idea for an atomic bomb right there in the dude's like study. But I love when he's like he goes to the chalkboard and he's like, "Well, you could do it like this and this." And he starts like, writing frantically and you're like, "What the heck is he writing?" And then they pan over, he's like, "This is what it would look like." He's like, "But who could be working on something like this?" They pan over to it and it's literally a circle with 4 squiggly lines inside of it, and he's like, "Whoa, you'd have to do that could be." He's like, "It would be an implosion explosion device," and he's like, "Or an atomic weapon." And he's
That's
like,
catchy.
"Ooh, that's catchy." Yes, that's catchy. So, Justin, would you tell us about who is developing this in real life? Because as we find out, somebody is making an
Well,
implosion
I'm
explosion
gonna say the
bomb.
I'm gonna say the character's name just like Shaewon Khan, Reinhardt Lay.
Sorry. Please do it again because he says it over and over.
Reinhardt Lay. Should I make it like an O face with
Reinhardt
smoke coming out?
Oh. Oh my gosh. The billboard. Such terrible CGI. There's this great
Oh, I
billboard,
know.
like an old fashioned, it's llama cigarettes instead of camel cigarettes.
Yeah.
And it's like one of those billboards for cigarettes with a puffing smoke coming out of the dude's mouth, like, and the face changes into
I was laughing
sort
so
of
much.
Shiwanka. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, dude. I thought I was gonna wake up the whole house. I busted out laughing so many times in this movie. But this one, oh, the billboard, I just kept
So,
everybody comes out and has a reaction to the billboard. Like, we keep coming back to the billboard. His daughter comes. Eventually, the Shadow's out there with the billboard. Oh,
it's such a creepy picture
billboard
too.
is
But Reinhardt
yes,
Lane is Ian McKellen, who
yes,
is
sir.
totally like underutilized in this film, to be quite honest.
He has maybe 10 lines of dialogue in this. He's like a nutty or like a, befuddled professor type of
That
character.
doesn't know colors because they do that one little moment where it's like, oh yeah,
Oh,
just
he's like, yeah, I wore a
just
red shirt. And she's
with
like, it's green.
the payoff
Or
was so ridiculous. But anyways, yeah. So obviously he's making he's pretty much the atomic bomb creator in this whole
he's
thing.
a scientist working on like energy research for the War Department.
Well, that's the interior of the bomb, and then what?
War Department.
The other scientist, Tim Curry, who I actually think was, again, all these actors, they do a good job for what they're given, right? It's
Tim
like
Curry in this movie, man.
huh?
Yes, you're right. Yes. They take this movie and really go with it. And Tim Curry is a great example of that. Please tell me, what was Tim Curry your second favorite character in this movie? Your
I mean,
favorite
I
character?
honestly think he was like nominated for like MTV like movie awards for like best like villain or something like that. I'm gonna look that up.
Supporting character for
Because
sure.
I remember
He
them like showing
hilarious.
like scenes of him and stuff like that, like from this movie. Like I thought that's what happened, but like
he really goes for it.
He doesn't really show up a lot, and like really his role is kind of like silly, but like he plays it to the best of his ability and goes a little extra more. It's like sleazy.
Well, that's what I Yeah, and I think that's what I like about him is that he's not like hypnotized like everybody else. Shiwan Khan has gotten to his side. They're all hypnotized. His Mongol warriors, the people around him, but Tim Curry's character actively joined him. Was like, oh no, there's a new world order coming, and I'm joining. And he's like wholeheartedly with Shiwan Khan. He's like a lackey. I call him. He's the Starscream to Khan's Megatron, if you will.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's an ambitious underling. But hey, Justin,
What?
I know we got more to go here, but I think this is a good time. We should take a quick break, and we'll come back and we'll keep talking about the Shadow.
Okay, and we're back. I didn't get a chance to find this MTV Movie Awards thing. I was trying to look it up on our break, but I swear I remember him be like that scene with Tim Curry. Like there's so many good moments with him later. Like his like delivery of lines, all that stuff. It's so good.
It's like he's taking what's on the page and he's just like, I'm gonna go for it. I'm just gonna play this guy to the nth degree because I have to give.
We'll just jump to like just all the scenes with him because he only has like 2 major scenes. Like I feel like there's not like a lot with him. It's like,
Well, I mean, okay, before we get to that scene, because there's another confrontation between the Shadow and Khan.
oh, okay,
Because
we can do that first. Let's do that first. That's
yeah,
fine.
Khan hypnotizes Margot, who's the Margot Lane, who's the daughter of Reinhold Lane.
Which that's when we're funny. Then well, Margot Lane is they say it like that with Margot Lane too, right? But
Margot Lane, and she comes out and looks at the billboard too. Like she gets called there, and she looks at the billboard. It was kind of gross. I said when I watched that when that part happened when Khan is calling Margot over, and like he has Ian McKellen, the doctor, call her and say like, I need you to come here now. He's been acting kind of weird and kind of crazy and a little reclusive, and so she's worried about him.
mm-hmm.
So she comes over like right away, and it's Khan like controlling him, telling him to make the call.
Before I want to just throw this in there before because I want to talk about something later. But like before this is when he does the whole fight with the Mongolians in the lab, and like he gets shot by arrows, and like it really hurts him. You know, it's like
he's like a shadow on the wall, like the guy, like one of the Mongolian henchmen shine the light of the flashlight very slowly. Which, by the way, how did they learn how a flashlight works? They're like 12th century Mongolians. Anyways, he turns the flashlight on and he finds the shadow, and for some reason Alec Baldwin doesn't move. He just keeps doing this back and forth with enough time for the guys to come and shoot crossbow arrows at him in one shoulder and the other, and like Peter Pan style pin his shadow to the wall. I mean, were you? That was the first thing I thought of. I was like, all right, great. Yeah. He's the Pan now.
Yep, exactly.
But we've got
best movie I saw in 1994. It's the same year as Lion King and something else.
I feel like Independence Day could not have been too far off from this. And looking at the CGI and graphics in that movie compared to this,
no, that was later. That was a few years later, I think.
How many years? Like it couldn't have been that
like
long.
2 years. 2 years. But yeah, this was a flop because Lion King came out like a couple years before this, and some other movie came out like a week after it or something like that. So it ended up flopping.
I'm sure everybody was eager for any other movie but this one after this one came out.
Well, yeah, they were trying to make this like a big like marketing, like they're gonna make toys and all this stuff, and
oh yeah, I remember the toys. I remember my friend had the toys, and that was where I watched the first scene of the movie. Was at my friend's house, and then we had to go. I couldn't watch the rest of it. But anyways,
you would have loved it back
then. Yeah, really, it was my loss.
She goes to kill him.
Yep, Khan hypnotizes Margot to go and kill Lamont Cranston. I love that name, by the way. Lamont is such an underused name. I'm just going to suggest that either one of us have another child, we should consider Lamont for a boy's name.
Okay. But sure. I'll name my next pet that. How's that sound?
Lamont Cranston. It has to be the full name though. Lamont Cranston. So she goes to try and kill him, and of course it fails. Like she
shoots a mirror. But like that's the thing I want to bring up. In that scene, he is spending so much time fixing this scratch that he got from the arrows. Like he's dabbing it so gently. Like he is.
Yeah, it looks like foul too. Like his first aid abilities.
Even what 4 scenes later, he is like holding his shoulder up. It's like in this excruciating pain. Like he's in his suit and he's like holding it. Like this scratch, it burns.
By the way, when Khan called Margot to him, I was like, gross, he's gonna do a booty call with one of his minion's daughters. I was like, and he had him call her.
They make her weird. Like she's such a weird. I don't know what her role is. Obviously, to be like that flaunty girl and socialite.
Well, her whole purpose is that she finds out the Shadow's secret because she's telepathic, and she figures it out.
No, that's not the reason she finds out. That's not the reason.
You're right. That's the reason why he's afraid of her.
Yeah.
And he doesn't want to get too close. But she finds out because after he breaks the hypnotic spell, she was like, I don't know. He sent me to kill the shadow. But what? And then like looks right at him. It's like, well, yeah, duh, you're in his house, of course. So, but then we get the best scene I think in the entire movie is that when Khan meets the shadow at the restaurant at like what I imagine is like a Mongolian buffet, like
He's eating so
he's eating with his
intensely.
hands. He's like, I haven't had this food in ages. Like, oh, it's so good. He's eating, and Shadow comes, sits down. It's like, nice tie. I love how there was a Brooks Brothers ad at the beginning when Khan told him like, nice tie. He's like, oh yeah, you like it? Brooks Brothers, Fifth Avenue, Midtown.
Yeah, it's kind of,
Which apparently, I looked. I was confused. Like, why did like such obvious product placement? But apparently, that was a callback to the old radio serials where they used to do that. They would just say like, "Oh, like, hey, nice tie. Like, where'd you get that? Oh, Midtown, Brooks Brothers on Fifth Avenue." So that I guess that was just done
Again
on purpose
for nobody that was going to watch this movie. It was like, you know what I mean? Like no one's
right
gonna
over our head.
Like, I mean,
Yeah,
as an adult watching this, it's like there's so many like line deliveries. Like I think they're trying to like break the fifth wall. Like give you a little wink and a nudge. Like, this is supposed to be stupid. This is supposed to be silly. Like, just some of the Alec Baldwin deliveries are just like are kind of like really interesting and hilarious because he's like, yeah, this is a stupid movie. Like, but you guys all know this. You knew what to expect. It's like
you just reminded me of when he fights one of the Mongolian guys, and they like fly out the window by the billboard, of course.
Oh my god, I know what you're saying. Yes.
And he lands on like the gargoyle or eagle or whatever like stone thing, and he goes, "Next time you get to be on top." And I'm like, oh, gross. Like
Amber too was like, it's like where like that came out like as a child, as a middle schooler, yes. I'm sitting there, I'm like, oh, he just means that he'll we'll just do it again someday.
You're doing the R2D2 laugh. You're like,
yeah, he's just gonna land on his back next time. That's all it means. Like, I'm like, why
Shadow made it funny. But it's so inappropriate. You're like, oh, gross. Like,
Amber was like, what the? She's just
right. Like, who is that joke for? All right. Okay, this is going off the rails quickly.
Yep.
So
I knew it was gonna happen.
They have their conversation at the Mongolian restaurant, where Khan openly insults his Mongolian guards. He's like, they're not too bright. But then it turns into, all of a sudden the shadow's like, oh, he's not too bright. Well, let me try to control his mind. And so I do love Khan though in the suit though. I think that was like I thought that was going to be like a good transition to him. Like, okay, this is how I'm going to take over the world. I'm going to just do what everybody else does. I'm going to be like a big shot CEO. And anyways, they get into a showdown.
This is the one point where you texted me. You had to text me.
This broke me. This broke me last night watching it. It floored me because as it was happening, I was like, no, they wouldn't do that. And then they did. So they both pull out their inexplicably one-shot pistols. They both pull them out. And they take it careful aim and shoot, and you see both barrel, and you see from both barrels, and the bullets hit each other, and they fall.
Ahead of its time. I'm telling you. You never seen it before.
And they look at each other like, oh, and it's just, oh my god, it broke my brain, man.
You haven't seen anything until you've watched The Shadow. The Matrix, nothing. Bullet time means nothing.
Matrix has nothing on this, because never do the bullets hit each other.
And then he yells the window open.
Yeah. I put it back in today and I watched it over and over, that scene. The Khan tries to escape out the window. He jumps out the window, but to break the glass, he just goes, "Apa!" And the glass shatters and he does like a flip out the window. Okay. And you were like, well, Amber said it looks like he kicked the window. He did. There were no kicks. No feet got near that window. He yelled that window to explode. All right. And even a kick wouldn't make it explode like that. It was like he yelled You know how like some banshees or like opera singers can make a glass break? It was like he did that just really quickly.
And anyways, we
Oh,
should probably just jump
uh,
to the ending. Like now we're getting in the weeds, but like
oh my gosh, dude. Okay. Oh, wait, let me just tell you. Let me tell you. Let me ask you something, Justin. What did you think of that dream that he had? That the
oh, I didn't want to
shadow.
bring that up.
I
So
thought that was pretty cool.
yeah, the dream was cool. Like him seeing Tim again,
Cool visual
seeing
effect.
Alec Baldwin in like Mongolian armor. Oh that dream. I'm thinking of the other where she has a vision of him.
No, when him and Margot both sleep and then they wake up and she's like,
Right. He
I had a
pulls.
dream I was on the beach
Oh
with
my
my
god.
feet in the water and the sun shining on me.
I oddly enough, the funniest thing is like I remembered because it's been forever since I watched it. As I'm listening to that whole
You remember
line,
that scene.
huh?
But you
What?
remember this scene.
Yeah, like I as a child, I like from what I watched before, I'm like I'm sitting there, I'm like I'm ready for his line. I'm getting ready for it because I'm like I know what he's gonna say, and I because but like I'm like oh my god, he's gonna say this thing. But when I was a kid, like I was like I just kind of like oh, it didn't matter to me. I was like oh he's just gonna say his line. But here I'm just
Yep.
like oh my god, I remember this line. It is gonna be hilarious, and I'm gonna love it.
Justin, can you tell us what that line is? You remember what the line
Oh,
was?
what did you dream of? Oh, I dreamt of ripping off my face, and I was
Yeah.
chewing con underneath. So bluntly delivered.
She's
You,
like, I had this dream on the beach. I was sitting in the sun, sunbathing, and and the waves were lapping over my toes. He's like, oh yeah,
which
I dreamed I ripped my face off. That gets
even though it was
I
gloating.
think, yes, right. He's just like kind of like, oh, well, I did this. I think that's like line of the movie, like
Yep.
sentence of the movie
Well,
right there. Well,
and
I
even
dreamed I
even
ripped
like
my face
Margot's
off
whole
with the
line
baby in
though,
my
it's like
bed.
it's not as even Margot's line is like it's sort of character. I feel like yeah, she's like the sexy like socialite, but like all of a sudden she turns like almost like prostitute. Like it's not even like fitting to like the
Weird.
rest of the movie.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. That whole part, I was like, then it turns into a sitcom sketch. All of a sudden, it becomes like a romantic comedy. Is like, oh, he's like, well, I'll leave the room if you're going to change. She's like, no, don't worry, stay. And she goes behind one of those changing screens. And I'm like, what the fuck did this just turn into? It just turned into like a 1930s movie, like of two people, like, oh, they're going to fall in love by the end of this movie. It really turned into like a sitcom out of nowhere. And then, yes. Yes, and then we have the Tim Curry coming back and managing to actually like stop the
Because the
shadow. Like
shadow is stupid. Of course, there's
yes,
water. Oh, there he is.
he just looks. He's like, where are their legs in the water? There, shoot, and it's like funny. It's like bullet hole, bullet hole. Bullet hole, bullet hole. Like, I think I got him. And then like somebody threw like red dye in the water, and you're like, oh, there's the blood.
But like that's the thing where I'm at. Like this, the
So
effects
funny.
of this movie is so bad. Like it's like they're literally
Some of the
just
practical effects are not bad though. But go
practical
ahead,
effects.
go ahead, go ahead.
But like practical effects are fine. But like literally, they're just shooting nothing. Like there's not even people in these scenes, and like they're just shooting set. Like they're not there's nothing really happening.
Gosh, now I'm thinking about the poor camera people that are just like, all right, you want me to hold on this? All right, just hold on that for 20 seconds. If you say so, okay. And then pretend, okay, he's moving. We're moving. Okay, he's over here now. And then he's running over here. Okay, he punches the guy. Cool. All right, now he's about back over here. Oh my gosh, that whole scene in the water-filled chamber. What even was that? Can you tell me?
Part of
What
his,
even was
that
that?
was his prototype early in Spear. That was my thought.
Ah, the sphere.
Yeah, it was his prototype. It was
So,
like his test thing.
but somehow you fill it with water, I
So
guess.
that's the thing I don't get. So like, okay, so he's in the water
Yeah.
thing. He can't do this on
Yes.
his own though. He needs to call Margot to save his life because the shadow sucks.
Yes. Because
But
he'll drown like anybody else.
but here's the thing. So
And shadow his
there's
way out
all
of
these
there.
holes that are in the thing, right? And it's making water spew out the holes, except for the ones that are at the bottom. Is that how water works? Can you explain this to me? Is this a scientific fact? Is like the water is like all spewing out and like it's going all over, except for the ones at the bottom, so he can get air because the air is coming in that way.
By the way, when you put your mouth against it and there's water already in like your mouth, like do you swallow that water? Like what? It was weird. It was just like, okay, there's a hole. I guess he can get air
It's a
that way.
every movie has these kind of problems, but that one just really struck out. It's just like, why?
Well, is it like when you put a pinprick like in something and it's like, it's not really leaking, it's just beating water a little bit. It's not really leaking. Maybe, but these were gunshots. Anyways,
So
so
Marco saves him.
yep.
And
They
before that,
eventually find
he's all interested with this like empty lot. Let's just get to the end. And then he
yes.
finds out this empty lot was built and then destroyed, but no one remembers, right? And then you mentioned
Yep.
it before.
Mhm. It's
Sharon
like
Khan,
calling back to like hiding a whole building, like
like
hiding
a really elaborate old building.
yes, like talk about that building looked like it was straight out of Metropolis, like the movie Metropolis. Like it's this old fashioned Art Deco
I
style.
gotta say, inside
Building.
it's because he's always in this like really in the whole movie. He's in this like really fancy room, right? Like where is he? Like what's he doing? How is he in this fancy room?
Yep.
And you find out like
Hiding.
it's in this mystery hotel. But like that room's pretty neat. Like I like how some of the shots they have with him. Like he's like wearing all these like fancy cloaks and looking at CGI
Oh,
geometry.
that I love the ribbon tapestries, like when he's hypnotizing Margot. Or no, maybe it was when he was contacting Reinhold Lane. He like all of a sudden the tapestry comes to life like a magic eye puzzle. It's like if you look at it long enough, you'll see the real patterns in there. So he eventually gets that to work for him. But okay, in the end, will you just tell me how does the shadow actually stop Khan? I like Khan in the suit better with the haircut, even though he's still got the fake beard, which totally sucks. It is a total fake beard and mustache,
Sure.
like held on with Elmer's glue.
I do want to just add
But
to like the whole scene with Tim Curry, like Tim Curry, like that, like with him, like in the little like side room, which is funny that the
yeah,
shadow goes after him, not the Mongolian warriors. Which
well,
I
he's trying to get information, and the Mongolian warriors are going to be like,
yeah,
they don't talk, they
but
don't talk.
he like Tim Curry like is like there's some shots of him like he's going like nuts, like it's kind of
Mhm.
hilarious. And then
It is great.
when he's running out the window and stuff, and like here's your exit right there, buddy. And I gotta say, the some of the animation of the shadow during that scene looks like such a cartoon. It's just like so cartoony animated. It's
Yeah.
yeah, but
I
anyways,
actually liked some of the scenes where they show like, I think it's towards the end when he confronts Khan where he's like going into the building and you kind of see like his shadow and it like follows the wall, like going through the stairs.
yeah,
I thought that was kind of
it's
cool. Like
fine.
it's
It's very cartoony though. Like
sure,
it's funny, but
sure.
it's fine.
Yes.
So the fight with Khan, he goes in there, he uses the purple thing, and he's like, "I got control of you. I have this tilty floor that's gonna like a boss fight. Like I don't know why he has a tilty floor.
How was that? He's like, oh, finally I get to use my tilty floor. Let me press my tilty
What hotel
floor
built the tilty floor for? I don't know why.
button.
Why
Like,
does the hotel have it? Does he add that in after he took it over? Like
no, Justin, it was actually it was a discotheque or like it was a a place for dancing and such. Like that's what it was before. And he just like turned it into he was like, this will make an excellent trap, this dance floor. Ah, I don't know.
so he
But
gets the
apparently
permit.
that will stop a person with guns, by the way. Person pulls a gun on you, just tilt the floor slightly and he'll be like, "Wah!"
So he's messed up. He can't control the perma, but then magically he can. Like I don't know.
Yes,
Like
he realizes he can't exert his force on it. He's got to be gentle, I guess, with it. I don't know. They don't
it.
tell us. They
So
don't tell
the
us.
ending to me is great because it's like you expect this big boss battle, right? And he's just like,
Mhm.
oh, I get this perma. He just stabs him in the stomach. It's like he's almost like,
Yep.
did you win?
It's like, oh. And that's not it, though. That's not it. What does it? What really is the thing that defeats Khan?
Well, he gets he puts Khan. Well, I'm gonna describe this in a way for our listeners to understand.
Okay.
They end up going to they end up going down a laundry chute. into a room of mirrors for some reason. There's a bunch of mirrors in this hotel.
In the laundry room,
In
there
the
is like a funhouse mirror, like maze.
But then they leave. Then they take the actor and they take him out of the mirror room and put him in front of a green screen. And then there's just explosions of mirrors behind him.
Yep, lots of them. Oh, they were glass. He hates glass, Justin. He screams and glass just breaks around him.
I mean, glass is kind of like sand, so I get it.
A lot of people hate it. It is made from sand.
And I think the most graphic, really ending of a battle. To be honest, it's like the shadow just lifts up a stab of glass and just right into his forehead.
I thought he was dead.
But not dead.
Yeah,
but not dead.
He shoots a shard of glass into what is his frontal lobe, as they say at the end, into his frontal lobe. But to the average viewer like you or I, it looked like he murdered the man by throwing a piece of glass, a sharp piece of glass, into his head.
It was like a slasher movie. It's like a Jason move, really. It's like
seriously, that was like, dude, you hit it right on the nail, right on hit it right there with it. It was absolutely like a Jason or Freddy style kill, right? Like broken shard of glass. This is our hero killing the villain with a dart of glass to the brain.
Because he knows
what do we find out?
Darkness. He knows what darkness is. He knows how to handle darkness.
Oh yeah,
more darkness.
All those years of letting his chest hair grow out in Tibet and having a hair.
That raid on that village. It's such a good. You're an idol.
Dealing all that age. Oh, Justin. Okay, well, tell me what happens now. What's the end result? Because Khan is not dead, as we find out.
He just ends up being a sane asylum, I guess. I mean, gotta leave for a sequel, right? You got to be ready for a sequel.
Well, they say like the doctor. I love the doctor. He like Khan is trying to like control it. He's like, "You will do this," and he's like, "Huh, that's pretty funny." The doctor though tells him they were able to save his life by taking out a part of his brain, and which apparently gets rid of Khan's psychic
there is a comment earlier in the movie, I forget when, where he mentions that he just mentions it's like off comment where it's like, the humans don't know how to use the front of their brain like we do. Like he kind of makes that comment. They do a lot of those things in this movie, but I love how the doctor, of course, is part of the secret society, and like he puts his hand up on his cheek when he walks out to show off the ring as much as possible, right?
I love that. There was a few spots where you just saw like somebody like lift their hand, and you're like,
"Hey guys, hey, look at this."
I like that. I thought that was pretty good. This movie has so many things going on in it. I feel like we could probably rewrite this movie as a better movie.
Let's do it.
And we could write the Shadow 2000. We'll make it like a 2000 thing. But
in 2022,
yeah. Like it's not a bad idea for a character. And I love actually the villain, the guy who played the villain. I think he does a great job. You got like a Tim Curry style, like what do you call it? Like ambitious underling type of person. The worst characters are like the main characters though. Alec Baldwin, for all his effort, he's not a good like superhero type of character.
He's a good Bruce Wayne. I'm good with that.
Exactly. And that's why he has to turn into the stunt double, like face shift to the stunt double, because that's the person who's actually going to be.
And for all my love for Ian McKellen, like I don't feel like he's even a good role for whatever he's supposed to do in this movie. He's wasted in this movie. Yeah.
So many people just cameoed in this movie. From
and this is the thing, Sharon Khan is not, from what I read, is not the main villain from the show. It's like something called the Hand or something. Like it like they just picked this one, I guess. Why, I don't know, but like, I mean, to work with, maybe the guy likes Mongolians. I don't know, but like,
he likes a good Mongolian buffet too. I hear you.
But that was the Shadow. I would, would you recommend this to somebody if they like?
I think people. I would put this in the category, you have to see it to believe it. Like you need to watch this at least once.
Good drinking game. It might be a good drinking.
You might need it to get through some parts of this. It's slow, it drags on in some parts, But if you're just, just watching it with some people, just have a good time. Watch it once, you'll laugh, you'll cry, it'll
Like,
give you
why am I
everything.
wasting my time?
Mhm.
I mean, the ending,
And
it's
you'll be
like,
like,
oh god,
and every character in this movie will be like, "Oh, I know that person. Like I've seen that person in something before." Like you will recognize just about every person in this movie. Like they all have. They've been in
like
other movies.
even like
So
the one of the guards look really familiar. Like I've seen like that actor
both of
before.
those guards, yes, both of those guards. Abraham Ben Ruby, who was in Parker Lewis Can't Lose, and ER, the bigger dude, who was
Okay.
like pizza. They're like talking about what they want to have to eat. And the other one was Banya, Kenny Banya from Seinfeld.
Oh wait, I'm trying to remember who that is.
The two Marine guards outside
Yeah,
the
no,
War
I don't. I'm
Department.
trying to remember who that character is in
He was
Seinfeld.
like he was like, that's a lot of gum, hey Jerry. Oh, he's
Oh,
like the other comedian. He was like, hey Jerry, that was a good set. Hey Jerry.
oh,
He's
okay.
like the other comedian that Jerry hates and tries to avoid. Kenny
Gotcha,
Banya.
gotcha, gotcha.
Totally Banya. Yeah,
Oh,
I had to look these up because I was like, I recognize just about all these people. Like,
like I
who are
think
they?
even like the police guard in the museum looks familiar. Like,
Yep.
the guy that's like driving the car that goes into the gas station, which we didn't talk about. Like that actor looks familiar.
Yes, he is. He's in a bunch of stuff as just like bit parts, like taking bit parts. But yeah, a lot of familiar faces. You're like, I've seen that guy in other things.
Hmm.
But
No.
yeah, I think, as I say, this is a see it. You got to see it to believe it. What about you? Would you recommend this to people?
I used to all the time.
Not anymore. Or do you do it with a caveat?
I will add a little more flavor, like more I guess understanding. It's like, hey, this is a shadow. I used to love this movie. But not this. It would be like, hey, I used to love this movie as a kid.
Mm,
It's very funny, silly movie. It's really cheesy and campy. If you want are into that, go ahead and watch it. It's a good time.
yeah, I think that's the best. The best way you can really talk about this movie is that it is of its time, and they were trying something.
Yeah.
It didn't work,
Nope.
but we can watch and we can enjoy the results.
Yes, that's very
So
true.
yes, we highly recommend this movie.
Recommend this movie if you want a good laugh. That's for sure. If anything, and Tim, there's a lot of good performances, good moments. That's it. But
Yeah, yeah,
oh my
and
god,
it's
and we
only
went.
100 minutes, so it's like an hour and 40. It's not too much of your time.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's
Yeah,
all right.
man, I thought we would only talk 45 minutes, but it's just you and me. And you know what? We never could do that. But I had a good
No,
time
man.
today.
Yes, I did too. I did too. Let's come back and do another one of these soon. So this has been Playing Favorites Reviews and reviewing The Shadow from 1994. Thanks for watching or listening. I'm Paul.
I'm Justin.
Let's do it again next week.